I noticed that my palms were sweaty when I grabbed the door handle, nervously pulling the door open. I entered an amazingly bright, modern, and bustling establishment. Taking another step, I heard a chair to my left scrape against the tiled floor, almost like nails on a chalkboard, only much louder. I turned to look in that direction. I saw a flash and felt a very hot and heavy object slam into my chest. I stumbled backward but remained standing, trying to grasp the situation I had stumbled into. I recognized Harold Blake's grim face above the barrel of the gun he held pointed at my chest. The size of the barrel made it clear that he was armed with something much larger than the .22 caliber I had expected to see. He was yelling at me, but I couldn't understand him because of the ringing in my ears. Although I couldn't make out his words, I easily deciphered his intentions. It was clear he was completely unhinged. He raised the gun slightly higher and took a step toward me, a disgusting smirk forming on his face. Then it vanished. Not just the smirk, but his entire face. "Oh my God, Dave, you've been shot," Les Williams exclaimed, quickly approaching and carefully lowering me onto a comfortable chair. Les was my wife's cousin's husband. He worked as a detective in the local police and was a decent guy. Now I liked him even more, as Harold Blake lay on the floor with his eyes wide open but unseeing. Les was a big guy, and he really landed a solid right cross on Blake's ugly face. Les started grabbing paper napkins and pressing them against my chest, shouting at the bartender to call an ambulance. I felt very lightheaded. My butt started sliding off the wooden chair. The man sitting next to Les picked me up under the arms and gently lowered me to the floor. I heard Les say quietly to another man, "Better get that damn ambulance here quick, or they'll take Dave straight to the morgue." "Thanks for the support," I managed to say before losing consciousness. At some point, I started coming to. It wasn't hard to recognize the smells and sounds of the hospital. The drowsiness was intense, and my chest hurt like never before. I could hear voices, so I decided not to open my eyes yet and listen to what they were saying. "Mom, who the hell is this Harold Blake?" demanded my daughter Serena. "I know he works at your company, but why did he shoot Dad? Did you or Dad have problems with him?" "He's been bothering me ever since I went to that seminar in Las Vegas 2 weeks ago," replied Shannon, my loving wife. "I had no idea he was so unstable." "That's not much of an explanation," Serena retorted. "Why was he bothering you after the trip? You told me you had a great time with Janice Long and the new girl from accounting. Why the hell did that miserable bastard shoot Dad? You're not telling me everything, are you? Do you have an affair with that jerk? Are you cheating on Dad? Tell me you're not sleeping with that pathetic freak." Lying in bed and listening, I really hoped Serena meant Blake, not me. Nonetheless, I wouldn't be surprised if Shannon asked Serena which exact freak she was referring to. Of course not. Shannon insisted. Blake ended up at the seminar when Bill Lane's wife got so sick that Bill couldn't attend. Blake filled in for him. I didn't even know he was in Vegas until I got back home. If you didn't know he was there, why did he start bothering you? What did he want? He wanted me to sleep with him. He tried to blackmail me, and I refused to go along with it, Shannon replied. Mom, your dumb answers are starting to annoy me. Everything you're telling me raises new questions, answers to which I shouldn't have to pry out of you. Dad is lying in a hospital bed after they dug out a .38 caliber bullet from his chest. It barely missed his heart, but grazed his lung. He was shot by your coworker, who, as you now claim, was trying to blackmail you for sex. But you're not giving answers to all the questions that seem perfectly obvious to me. Why, where, when, who, how, and what the hell? Mrs. Grant? My colleague, and I would like to ask you a few questions about today's incident. Could you come with us? A confident female voice asked. We need to get your testimony to understand the nature of this shootout. I hope the police have better luck than me, Serena muttered under her breath as the sound of a closing door echoed. Dad, please tell me everything will be okay. Mom and I will be lost without you. I cautiously opened one eye and saw Serena sitting alone, her face buried in her hands. She seemed to be trying to hold back tears. I'll recover as soon as I can, I muttered, surprising and relieving Serena. Dad, you're awake. They told us you're out of danger and everything will be okay. Mom and I were allowed to sit by your bed and wait until the anesthesia wears off. I promised to let the nurse know as soon as you woke up." With these words, Serena jumped up and left the room, returning about a minute later. Behind her stood a middle-aged nurse with a smile. She gave me some ice water to sip through a straw and quickly checked me for any obvious issues. "I'll inform the doctor that you've woken up and are talking, Mr. Grant. It's nice to see you feeling better. You'll be heading home soon," she said as she left the room. "Can you remember what happened?" Serena asked. "Are you in a lot of pain?" "Some bastard shot me. It hurts like hell," I replied. "My question to you: why did that bastard try to kill me?" "No one knows, Dad. The police are investigating the matter. They're talking to Mom right now," Serena stated. "Have you ever had any issues with Harold Blake?" "Harold Blake?" I repeated. "I saw him once at your mom's work event. I don't think I talked to him. He shot me?" "He shot you in the chest with a .38 caliber pistol. The bullet missed your heart but grazed your lung. He was about to shoot again, but thankfully, Les Williams was at the bar. He knocked Blake out before he could pull the trigger again. You're lucky Les was there." "Yeah, I'm damn lucky," I sarcastically agreed. "Was your mom upset when she found out I'd been shot?" "Are you kidding? She was devastated. I had to drive her here, and she cried the whole way," Serena replied. "Why are you asking about this? You know Mom loves you. Is there something going on that I don't know about?" "It seems like a lot is happening that none of us knows about," I replied. "The obvious question is, why did that idiot try to kill me?" The second and almost equally important question is also obvious. Does your mother have anything to do with why that jerk shot me? "She insists he was trying to blackmail her into having sex with him," Serena stated. "She didn't mention that he had power over her to make him think she'd give in. I don't need to tell you that if your mother is lying to me, I'll leave her so fast her head will spin. I've been faithful our entire marriage and won't tolerate your mother cheating," I said firmly. "You've never hidden your feelings about loyalty, Dad. Mom knows how you feel, and I don't think she'd ever betray you. You know how great Mom still looks. She'd never be with a creep like Harold Blake, even if she did something strange," Serena reassured. "If you're trying to cheer me up, you're not doing a good job," I replied. "Your mom might be a MILF, but that doesn't mean she can cheat on me if she finds some particularly cool guy. That's not how marriage works." Serena quickly realized her mistake and tried to make amends. "I didn't mean she'd cheat on you with just anyone. I just meant that if she ever did, it would only be with someone much better than Harold Blake. That's all I meant," she clarified. "Just stop digging yourself deeper, Serena," I insisted. "Dad, you're awake," Shannon exclaimed from the doorway. "I was so worried about you." "And why would you be worried about me?" I asked. "Just one of your work colleagues shot me with a .38 caliber pistol. Nothing scary about that, of course. Depending on why he tried to kill me." Shannon was shocked by my words. She stopped moving towards my bed and started sobbing. "He shot you because I told him that you would kick his ass if he kept bothering me. He has several videos where in compromising positions. He thought I'd sleep with him sooner than let him show you those videos. Then I stupidly threatened him with a serious beating from you, Dave. I didn't realize how unhinged he was. He told me that if you came after him, he'd shoot you," Shannon said. "He said he had a permit to carry a weapon and he'd use it if you even looked at him sideways." "He told you he had a .38 caliber? That's damn powerful, especially within 10 feet, I sharply clarified. "At first, he said he had a Ruger .22 caliber. I laughed at him. I said you'd shove that little gun up his ass if he ever came at you," Shannon admitted. "Obviously, he bought the .38 caliber as soon as the waiting period was over. Let's see if I understand this correctly. This crazy bastard tells you he'll shoot me with his .22 caliber if I come near him for any reason. This prompts you to tell him that his gun is too ineffective to shoot me, so he takes your advice seriously and gets a bigger gun? Why did you threaten him without telling me? Why did you advise him to get a bigger gun?" I growled. "The police just asked me the same thing," Shannon admitted. "I was trying to dissuade him from harming you. I thought by telling him how big and strong you are, he'd back off. I didn't expect him to buy a bigger gun. You know I would never intentionally provoke someone to shoot you." "And yet that's exactly what you did, Mom," Serena interjected. "You still haven't told us what incriminating videos he had and how he got them. What the hell did you do, Mom?" The new girl who went with us to the seminar was younger and much more free-spirited than Janice and me. It was very hot in Vegas, and she had friends who were members of a private club. She kept asking us to go with her to the club. One of the perks was using a beautiful Olympic-sized pool. "I'm not going to ask any more questions, Mom," Serena declared. "Obviously, there's a lot more to this story. It was a private club where members and guests went naked or, at least, topless. It's embarrassing to admit, but Janice and I agreed to go there after our seminar ended. At first, we were very nervous, but after about half an hour or so, we felt that being topless in front of other people was natural. I didn't know, but Harold Blake had a friend in the club. There were rules against taking photos or videos, but he clearly broke them. He secretly filmed Janice and me topless. When we returned from Vegas, he sent me copies by email and said he would send them to Dave, Mom, Dad, and anyone else whose addresses he could get. Janice said he did the same thing to her. He wrote the email in a way that made it seem like we had sex multiple times in Vegas. He just wanted it to happen again. That's why I didn't show it to you, Dave. I was afraid you'd think it was true. It's not. I would never cheat on you." I was shocked by Shannon's explanation of the events in Vegas that led to me getting shot. How could I have been so naive? Sweat began to drip from my forehead. "I'm sorry, but I must ask both of you to leave," announced a tall stranger entering the room. "I allowed you to sit with your husband and father, thinking he would wake up in a friendly atmosphere. I didn't expect him to be under such stress as he is now. If his recovery goes as I sense, you should be able to take him home in a day or two. It's fortunate that the bullet followed the trajectory it did." "Of course, Dr. Rains," Serena replied, getting up and guiding her mother to the door. The guy, apparently a doctor, examined my wound, but I fell asleep before he finished the examination. When I woke up next, there was a police officer and a man in plainclothes in the room. The officer nodded when he saw that I had opened my eyes. "Mr. Bell? I'm Officer Hastings, and this is Detective Allen. We would like to ask you a few questions about the events that led to your surgery. Are you feeling well enough to talk to us? We'll try to be brief." "Actually, I know very little, but I'll answer your questions as best as I can," I replied. "Perhaps it would be quicker if you just told us what happened," Detective Allen suggested. I recounted everything I remembered from the moment I opened the door to the pub until I woke up in the hospital bed. "Did you have any interaction with Harold Blake before he shot you?" the detective asked. When I shook my head, he inquired, "Have you read the emails he sent to your wife? She told us that you're not savvy with computers and don't even know the password." This detective made it easier for me by throwing softballs at me. "Shannon is right. I'm not tech savvy, and she never told me any of her passwords. Did he send her something via email indicating that he was planning to shoot me?" "I can't discuss what we've learned so far. We're just trying to piece together all the puzzle pieces," Allen replied, then asked a few more questions about how I interacted with Blake. I told him that I had seen him once at one of Shannon's company events and never spoke to him. As far as I remember, Shannon never mentioned his name. They seemed satisfied and soon left me alone with my thoughts. I really messed everything up. It was obvious. Shannon said she never slept with that jerk, and I believed her. She rarely lied, especially about something serious, and she had tells that allowed me to understand if she was distorting the truth. She didn't show them when explaining to Serena and me that Blake wanted a piece of her ass. I should have found time to read all the new emails she received from that jerk before going to his favorite dive bar, expecting that asshole to come at me with a .22 caliber pistol. A person can die from a shot from such a weapon, but the bullet must be very precisely aimed. I had already decided that Blake wasn't going to be surgically accurate and precise when formulating his imagined revenge. Shannon was my whole life. After 20 years of marriage, I loved her more than I could ever imagine. When she returned from the trip to Vegas, she was acting somewhat strangely. It wasn't just one thing, but a combination of things. I started to worry. Over the years of work, I learned to hide various details from Shannon. The most significant of these was the fact that I wasn't as clueless with computers as she thought. I knew how to handle a laptop. I used it at work, although for some reason, she never considered that possibility. I saw how she checked her email many years ago and memorized her password, which was the date of our anniversary. She had no clue about any of it. Since her unusual behavior worried me, I decided to log into her account for the first time. Soon enough, I discovered that Harold Blake had sent Shannon copies of several videos where she was topless by the pool surrounded by a few other people. To say that this surprised me would be a significant understatement. Another thing that surprised me were Janice Long's surprisingly large and firm breasts. Who would have thought? I was much less concerned about Shannon going topless in Las Vegas than about her sleeping with Blake. Judging by how he worded his emails, it seemed like Shannon had slept with him multiple times. In her responses, there were threats about what I would do to him if he didn't stop trying to blackmail her. Remembering these emails, it must be acknowledged that she never admitted to sleeping with him. She didn't even touch on that topic. I had been tracking Blake for almost the entire previous week. On his way home, he always stopped at one pub. In my defense, I was very depressed by what I thought was Shannon cheating on me. I read in the emails that he had a concealed carry permit. It was a .22 caliber pistol, and he would use it if I tried to confront him in any way. I never saw any emails about buying a larger gun. My revenge plan was very simple, too simple as it turned out. I would accidentally enter the pub when he was there. I would stare at him until he got nervous and pointed his gun at me. If necessary, I would pretend to draw my own gun from my pocket to make him react. If he just waved the gun around and threatened me, I would have him arrested and get the maximum sentence. If it seemed like he was going to shoot me, I planned to cover my face with my hands and bend down to minimize the chances of getting hit by stray bullets. Looking back, I realized that my assumptions were quite mistaken. The guy indeed had a .38 caliber. He didn't wave the gun around or threaten me. He simply shot me in the chest before I could even try to take cover. I knew I could have died from a .22 caliber shot, but that seemed unlikely. However, there was no doubt about the lethality of a .38 caliber shot. The main reason I thought the threat from Shannon's lover or the possibility of being shot by him was a great idea was how it would affect Shannon. Her affair would become the cause of my pain and possibly my death. I knew she still loved me in her own way, even if she was unfaithful. The responsibility for my hospitalization or death would devastate her. I was sure of that. The truth about her affair would come out during the investigation, and I would be the poor, innocent husband who mistakenly trusted his slutty wife. The topless videos would somehow fall into the wrong hands and be shown to Shannon's friends and relatives. She might even face ostracism from her family, causing her intense pain. Shannon had wonderful relationships with her parents, siblings, and even with my family. Family was a very important part of her life. Now I had to think about how to get out of this mess I created myself. I had to make sure Shannon didn't find out what an idiot I was, how I believed she was having an affair with Blake, and how I came up with my half-baked plan just to make her and her lover suffer, even if it meant my own demise. I always thought I was good at solving problems, but recent events made me reconsider that opinion. How could I avoid being portrayed as the biggest fool in the world? How could I present the situation in a way that minimizes the damage? Shannon and Serena visited me in the afternoon. Serena was happy that I would be released the next day. Shannon was closed off and silent. It seemed like my poorly thought-out plan worked. She was subdued and teary-eyed. I pretended to fall asleep, and they cut their visit short. As they left, I started thinking about how to fix the situation. I wasn't very surprised that Shannon went topless at a private club in Vegas for a few reasons. One reason was that she was in great shape, maintained a nicely sized, firm bust, and for obvious reasons took pride in her appearance. Another reason was the pressure from her friend Janice, who also had an impressive bust size. Based on the videos I watched dozens of times, Janice really wanted her natural wonders to be appreciated by admirers. The main reason I wasn't surprised was a conversation I overheard once, coming home early from work on a hot Saturday morning. Shannon and Serena were by the pool. It seemed like they were having an impromptu poolside party. Serena's two closest friends, Beth and Amber, were there in tiny bikinis. as well as Shannon's younger sister Laura. Also present were a couple of neighbors, both women in their 30s. I decided to eavesdrop on the conversation before grabbing a small cooler of beer and chatting with the women. The conversation topic turned out to be very interesting. They were discussing how much they would like to go somewhere far to a beach where they could go topless without being discovered by relatives, friends, and people they work with. Serena and her two charming friends were the ones talking the most about how fun it would be and how they would never forget this experience. I was very surprised when Shannon and Laura agreed with them and talked about how interesting it would be to behave not at all like typical boring suburban housewives. That conversation I overheard that day by the pool kept ringing in my head as I drifted off to sleep. It seemed like Shannon was a bit of an exhibitionist. It made me wonder if all women were like that, or if it was only characteristic of women with beautiful figures, confidence, and the means to fulfill those desires. Serena and Shannon picked me up from the hospital to take me home. I was given a list of prescriptions and recipes that needed to be followed. I received instructions on diet and physical exercises for the near future and promised to regularly visit my family doctor. Shannon helped me into the house, where I was surprised to see most of our close friends and relatives. Everyone expressed their concern and wished me a speedy recovery. I shook hands and greeted people until my strength began to wane. At that moment, I sank into my favorite armchair to rest. Reluctantly, I fell asleep. Upon waking up, I briefly listened to the conversation, and what I heard sparked my anger. Essentially, Shannon was being attacked by both her and my family for her misbehavior in Las Vegas. It became clear from the conversation that the videos had indeed fallen into the hands of most of our guests. Married women don't go around with bare breasts, especially in an unfamiliar place, lectured Shannon's father. You might as well get a tattoo on your forehead or on your backside, or in both places, indicating that you're available and easy. Acting like this is just asking for trouble. Dave got shot because of you. Jack's right, my father chimed in as soon as Shannon's father fell silent. Decent women don't flaunt their breasts for anyone who wants to see them. My granddaughter needs a good example to follow. What her mother is showing on video, being topless in front of a bunch of strangers, is sending the wrong message. I'm very disappointed in you. Shannon just stood there, taking it all in. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and she trembled slightly. That was her reaction when she was deeply saddened and under extreme stress. My heart broke seeing and hearing how my wife was being treated like an outcast. But what infuriated me the most was how harshly our own family was treating Shannon. Everyone here needs to shut up or get the hell out. I growled, rising to my feet and approaching Shannon. Jack, whose house is this that you're standing in right now? I demanded an answer from my father-in-law. Well, it's your house, Dave, Jack replied, not trying to conceal his confusion. Wrong answer, you idiot. I roared. This house belongs to your daughter, who happens to be my wife, and to me. You're in Shannon's damn house and calling her actions completely unacceptable. You have a few options. You can get out of our house and stay out. You can try your luck treating me like crap, or you can apologize to Shannon. I was just pointing out that her actions, Jack began. You're on thin ice, Jack. Preaching is not an option. Get the hell out right now or apologize to your daughter, I warned. Son, he was just... My father tried to intervene. You're next, Dad, I warned. No one in our house speaks ill of my wife or about her. What will you do, Jack? I was wrong, Shannon. Your husband loves you, and he's right. This is your house, and I should respect you and defer to you. If I can't give you that, then I shouldn't be here. I apologize. Shannon rushed to her father and hugged him, while her mother, Susan, hugged me tightly. That's how a man defends his wife. You're a good man. The groan I involuntarily let out when Susan pressed against my wound drew everyone's attention. Grandma, I think your breasts were putting too much pressure on Dad's chest, Serena remarked. Those girls have turned more than one man into jelly, Susan grumbled as the chuckles were replaced by tension in the atmosphere. Shannon, I want to apologize before Dave kicks me out. I went too far. You've made my son happy and given us a beautiful granddaughter, my father said. It seems everyone got the wrong impression that I'm upset about Shannon letting her hair down and her top in Vegas. In reality, you would have never known about it if it weren't for that scumbag Harold Blake. I had an epiphany as both fathers attacked Shannon. Since I loved her deeply and understood her a bit better than a few weeks ago, I planned to make lemonade out of lemons. Shannon has a beautiful figure. I challenge anyone who has seen the videos where she's topless to dispute this statement. We take pride in her figure. I believe most attractive women like Shannon are inclined towards exhibitionism. It's evident that Shannon has it. When she told me she was going to Vegas, I advised her to visit that club where she could go topless and no one would know about it. It turns me on that men enjoy looking at my wife. As long as I'm the only man who appreciates these charms up close, personally and directly. If you want to criticize someone for Shannon having a good time in Vegas, try doing it with me. We make decisions together and base them on what makes us happy, not random friends and relatives. Shannon looked shocked as I said this. Serena grinned widely and glanced at Mom. Both women exchanged nods. Their skills of silent communication were well known in our family. Everyone else was still trying to digest my little revelation. They looked at me surprised, amused, and approvingly. Since the cat is out of the bag, you may know that Shannon and I are going on a 2-week vacation in August. We're going to the island of Kokomo. The island is well known for its beaches, many of which require no clothing. We won't have any tan lines when we get back, I stated. If any of you have a problem with our life choices, express it now. Tell us why we are sick puppies and need help. I think it's a great idea, Dad. Mom will enjoy having her tits free, with horny men ogling her, and you'll be there for protection, Serena predicted. Thank you, Serena. It means a lot when our daughter understands and encourages our bacchanalia. I can't wait, Serena added. You promised that I could go on our next family vacation. You also told Beth and Amber that they could come with us if they paid for their airfare. We're going to have a great time. I was about to voice my opinion about Serena going to the beach topless. I immediately realized that I would react like Jack if I voiced my concerns about my 19-year-old daughter going to the beach topless. I would be the biggest hypocrite in the world if I suggested anything other than support Serena. I decided, thinking about the private conversation I would have with her later, I was torn between possible scenarios. Beth and Amber topless. That was a vision I wanted to experience. However, Serena walking around with her breasts exposed worried me. I contemplated telling her that this trip should be a romantic getaway for me and Shannon. What I heard next made me glad I hadn't voiced that thought yet. Sis, are you okay if I join you? Asked Shannon's divorced and very well-built sister Laura.